generally talk about deployment of machine learning models, when in fact we refer to deployment of machine learning pipelines. So in this video, I want to introduce what a machine learning pipeline is and why we deploy pipelines instead of just models. In a simple way of imagining machine learning models, the organization has some data that can be stored in databases, in the cloud, or retrieved from third-party APIs, and then it feeds this data to build a model that then is able to provide some predictions that are of use to the business. However, data is almost never ready to be used to train machine learning models. In fact, data presents a variety of characteristics in terms of format and quality that make it unsuitable to train machine learning models. For example, data can present missing values, and some of the libraries to train machine learning models cannot cope with the lack of values in a dataset. Data can also contain strings instead of numbers, and the computer cannot perform computations with strings, so we need to transform them into numbers. The variables in the data present some distributions, and the distribution of the variable may affect the performance of the model, so we may want to change some distributions. The data may also present outliers, and some models are sensitive to the presence of outliers, so we may choose to censor or remove these values. The different variables in our dataset may be in a different scale, and some models are sensitive to the scale of the variables, so we need to rescale them. Sometimes our data is in the form of text, so we need to be able to extract information from this text into some sort of input that can be computed. Sometimes our data are images, and again we should be able to extract data or features from these images. Some of our data may be transactional, and we may want to aggregate this data to have a more streamlined view of the customer. Sometimes the data is geolocation, and we may want to extract features from this data. Sometimes we have time series that we need to process or aggregate in a certain way, and we can also have date and time variables that we cannot use straight away in our models, but instead we derive features from them. So before we can use this data to train a model, we need to carry out a lot of variable transformation, extract features from data, or create new features by combining existing ones. So then, we're not talking of just training the models, but we're also talking about pre-processing the data to make it suitable to train the model, and sometimes we may not want to use all the features available to us, so we may include a step of feature selection. So a machine learning pipeline contains a variety of steps that allow us to go from the raw data to the data format that is suitable to train the machine learning models so that we can obtain the predictions. When we deploy our machine learning model, then we do not just deploy the model itself, but we need to deploy the entire pipeline. And why is that? Well, because both in the research and in the production environment, most likely we are going to receive the raw data, so we need the steps of the pipeline that will allow us to produce the mature data with which we will be able to either train the model or, once the model is trained, obtain the predictions. I'm going to discuss the details of the different steps of the machine learning pipeline later on in section 4. For the rest of this section, we're going to focus on the concept of building reproducible machine learning pipelines.